Well, hello, folks. This is Idiots versus Idiots. My name is Danny. I'm joined always by my cowboy-hatted associate, the Big Man.
I am the big man.
As if he is the only large man in Texas. As if there isn't the entire city of Beaumont, Texas, that makes him look like Paris Hilton.
Well, I actually was on a call this week where, other people introduce me as the big man all the time. It's my brand,
Right.
yada, yada. Anyway, I was on this call, and this guy was trying to be, how people, when they're trying to sell you something, they're trying to get you to sign up for something, they're very proper. And he's like, Mr. the Big Man. He kept calling me Mr. the Big Man. And I'm like, that doesn't work. Just stop it. I appreciate it, but no.
I jokingly refer to your wife as Mrs. the Big Man.
Yes.
And that's only because I have transference fear, meaning you're afraid, so I'm afraid of you. I haven't even met the lady, and she's probably delightful.
Hey, there's only two things on this planet that I was ever afraid of, and one of them, he died years ago, and my wife. Anyway, what are we talking about today, Danny?
I am so touched to tell all of you about the newest and most exclusive club in the United States of America, which anyone can join. It is the Up Yours Club. Up Yours Club is powered by Buy Me a Coffee. And our Up Yours Club, or our Buy Me a Coffee account, is now open. It's free to join. All you got to do is give us your email address, and you can send us an ongoing or one-time non-tax deductible donation. Now, you have to discuss with your tax professional whether or not this is deductible or not deductible. I don't actually know.
Giving money to Danny is definitely a charity that I write off. That's all I'm saying. Upyoursclub.com is the domain. Right? Upyoursclub.com domain. It was duly named Up Yours Club domain because several of our very first podcast episodes, Danny just couldn't stop telling me, and everyone else for that matter that was listening, Up Yours. You know what I mean? Upyours.com.
And I want you to know something. I carry that spirit with me to this day. Right? Up yours all the way, big. All the way.
If you don't like my opinions, up yours, right?
And listen, I don't like any of your opinions. And somehow, I feel like this is one of those really bad marriages, but no one's abusing anyone. We just hate each other. And at this point, we're playing chicken to see who's going to quit first. We don't want to be the first one.
The tagline forever. We're going to be 20 years into this and millions of listeners, and the tagline's still going to be the same. One of us is a successful businessman, and the other one's jealous. Which one is which? Everyone out there can decide. That's all I'm saying.
I am not jealous of you whatsoever. So that must make me the successful one.
I will put it out there on Twitter every day. I don't care.
You must be jealous of my perennial tan. I
am. You have very
You
good
left
skin,
that wheat toast in the toaster a bit too long tan. Now, this is a subject that is personally interesting to both of us because we are lovers of the real estate industry. And I am someone who likes to ask himself big, audacious questions. And one of those questions is, retail is so dead, we can't kill retail anymore. We have now taken the ashes of retail and we are attempting to burn them. It's so dead. Okay? Now, what happens to these huge malls that are sitting all over this country? And by the way, indoor malls started in near my hometown in Minnesota. The Southdale Mall was the first one. I still remember going there when I was younger. It was the Richie Rich Mall.
Right.
We would go there, and my old man used to say, it's like a museum. You go there, you look, don't touch anything. So, that's...
I can't pull off that accent.
You're not allowed by law.
I'm not allowed to pull off that?
Yeah, no, I'm allowed
my skin
to.
Again, right?
That's a problem.
Look,
that's gonna be a racism. But
that's an ism. I don't know what kind of ism.
And the largest mall in the country was built. I lived down the street from the Mall of America, and the last time I was over there, it was wild to see because it's empty right now,
Right.
But the last time I was able to walk in, and if you're from there, you really don't walk into that place unless you work there, right?
Okay.
And so the last time I walked in, there was probably 2018. And this is 15 miles from my parents' house, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they've turned it into this destination for activities and all this other stuff. They have all like there's good restaurants in there now. Like when I was a kid, like it was like the knockoff. Like it wasn't Panda Express. There was some knockoff of Panda Express that's only in the mall's food court.
Right.
Yeah, and so but it's turned into this beautiful thing. But at the same time, retail is so dead. The primary revenue generator for the mall business is retail.
Mall retail is definitely dead. Now, you're
So
outside, what they call outside retailers, right? Like Target and Walmart. All these places that came along after malls became these meccas of...
Yeah, so big box.
Right, big box retailers and whatever. Every mall had your Sears and your JCPenney and your Levine's. And,
both companies dead. Never heard of Levine's.
Right, and because those companies were so big and drew in people, you were able to have these smaller shops that were in malls that because the foot traffic was so good to these big companies that they made money as auxiliary companies, right?
Yes.
And because that was my time, right? I grew up in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
And that was mall time. I mean, people went to
Yep.
the mall to do nothing. You
Right.
went to the mall to hang out, right? Like all
Yeah.
those 80s movies, you went to the mall to hang out because there was stores. You could spend hours and go into different stores and see things that you could never afford. You could eat and you could,
Yeah,
you could
and
see electronics at different places,
My favorite, I should say my favorite, one of my favorite comedians is a guy named Dane Cook. He had that whole line about, like, white kids who try to pretend they were hoodlums. And they were like, no, man. You can't be on this side of the mall, man. This is our side. We cover the Gap.
That's right. We covered the Gap all the way down to Spencer's.
That's right.
So like that was my time. Now I 100% understand that you fast forward 30 years from then and you go, hey, that is dead. That has been dead for a while. All Dos Equis did is drive that knife through the heart, right?
Listen, that knife there was 3 knives in the heart, and Dos Equis just came in and said, "Katana sword."
Yeah.
Like,
here's the thing. There was a lot of cities, a lot of companies that have been fearful for the last decade about what are they going to do, right? You've got these huge buildings and in some cases really good parts of town, right? There are some cases that are the opposite. Most big cities have at least 2 malls, and one of them was in the not so great part of town that was the older mall, and the newer mall that was in a much nicer part of town, right? That everybody went to. The problem, though, is what were they going to do with these massive, in some cases, 100-acre type sizes of places that people weren't going to go? And what I'm thankful about and what I love about entrepreneurship in general is everything always finds a way, right?
That's
Every
true,
field finds something to grow,
and,
right? In an old Ranger term.
I think that's, Jurassic Park. I've never seen the films. I don't care. He goes, life finds a way.
Life does find a way.
The market always finds a way. And if you are interested in the subject at all of these abandoned malls and abandoned big box stores, there's a YouTube channel I'm going to recommend. It's called Bright Sun Films. They have a series called Abandoned and Bankrupt, and they just talk about some of the most interesting. And I find all this stuff fascinating. And the reason we do a podcast about business and marketplace news is because I was already talking about this stuff to people and boring them at parties and talking about, can you believe this mall went out of business? And the reason we bring this up today is there's 2 reasons. Mm-hmm. The first reason is Amazon is buying up some of these old malls.
Absolutely.
Because Amazon, this is full circle. It's like Amazon saying, we're buying up Barnes & Noble.
Amazon going, I killed you. Yeah. Now I'm going to use you. Right?
That's right. It's like if you're parent or somebody got they got in an unfortunate car accident, and then the guy who crashed into them was like, so I'm going to buy up your house now because they don't need it anymore.
Yeah. I need you to. I'm the doctor that fixes your leg after I ran into you. And
That's right.
And look, what I find great about this story is it's not just Amazon. Amazon, over the last couple of years, I think 2016 to 2019, they've converted 25 malls, which is I think that's just going to accelerate right? As far as number of malls. But the cool thing to me is it's not just Amazon turning into warehouses. There's been some of these malls they've turned into schools. There's been some of these malls they've turned around and turned them into condos, right? They've turned them into, I've seen them, cities are proposing to take some of these malls and turn them into community colleges, because that's one of the growing things going forward is they want less universities and more community colleges and that kind of stuff. They've looked at turning these into community colleges. I thought, why wouldn't a smaller mall, right? Like on the northeast side of Austin, there used to be a mall, and now it's a company, and part of it is also a community college here, right?
Are you talking about the Homestead Mall?
No. I forget the one. It was on 183 in Mopac, or 183 and 35, which nobody of y'all know or care. The point is it's a dead mall and has been dead because it was in the older part of town. The point though is, and it was bought up by Rack Space and by
I know which one you're talking
Austin's
about now.
Community College. The point is why wouldn't you take a smaller mall like it wasn't one of those massive malls, a smaller mall like that? Why wouldn't that, we've talked about going forward commercial space on this podcast before, co-working space. Why couldn't you take a smaller mall and make it a massive co-working space, add contracts with big companies in the area that don't want these big, huge leases anymore, and you could even give them their own side space that used to be, right, Spencer's or whatever, and that's now whatever, and you walk into a mall that still has a food court for all the people that work there every day.
There, plenty of bathrooms, they put in a gym or something.
And it becomes a large co-working space where you still have your coffee shop, and you still have your, you know what I mean, your lunch space or whatever. So it can be ran very similarly.
Listen, I think that, like, you're right, and I'm someone who's very interested in commercial real estate. I'm going to be in that industry later this year. The reason I picked the story, actually the big man sent it to me. It's one of those rare occasions where he's allowed to send me a story. He actually sent me two stories, and this other one is that a mall out in Phoenix, Arizona, it's getting repurposed. They are going to turn it into it's called the Paradise Valley Mall. It's going to get rezoned. It's going to have high-end grocery shopping, all this other stuff. I see car dealerships buying up part of this or the entirety of it, and like there's 1,000 different uses for these huge old things. And if you're an innovative person who can think of how to use one of these old malls, there is absolutely an opportunity for you to, and you don't have to have a penny. That's the thing. You just have to have the right idea.
Cities need it done, because for a decade, some of these older malls have been sitting empty forever.
Yeah, and
forever.
So the one of the older malls that was going that I used to, me and my crew, we used to hold it down, as we would say. Their parking lot is now just used for car storage. Like, they just store cars there for a car dealership. Here's the fun story. So, I was back visiting my folks and up north, and I had heard that they had built this new Lifetime Fitness. Lifetime Fitness is this national chain of luxury gyms. And this gym is twice the regular price of what I pay to go to the gym. You pay more, you get better exercise. That's what they always say.
Sure.
So, I heard it was built in a certain part of town near a mall, near the Southdale Mall, the first ever indoor mall in the country, in the world, I believe. And I walk into this, what I believed to be the place, because this is a new building. So I was like, oh, this is it. I kept thinking, this has got to be 30,000 square foot. And I heard this new place is 150,000 square feet. And Lifetime Fitness, the one up in North Austin, something like that, huge. It's huge.
Right.
Like, that's really weird. It doesn't have like the normal stuff, the tennis or whatever. And I walk in and I'm looking around and I go, that's weird. All they have in here is a bunch of furniture. Like, there's just couches, tables. I'd walked into a Restoration Hardware. The high-end the high-end furniture store. They had built a new one in the same vicinity, and I was not paying attention. So I walk in wearing like gym clothes with a gym bag, the gal, there's no check-in desk, there's no towel desk. I'm like, what's going on?
You don't look up when you're walking from the car to the building? Like, come on, man.
I got good parking, so I was excited about, like, man,
right?
Because I hate having to walk too far, especially when I'm going to the gym.
Yeah,
kind of exercise, not walk. So I walk in, and I was like, why do these couches all have price tags? What's going on?
That's awesome. Now,
but
look, again,
as it turns out, and I want to relate it back to what I was trying to say, though, is like, what had happened is the gym bought up 2 anchor stores and everything in between them and put a gym in. And that is brilliant. Right?
Absolutely. I don't understand. I think you're going to see more and more of that. I think cities where these malls were, which had a tendency to be these smaller cities right outside of bigger cities, right? Up in Dallas, it was in, the biggest one was in Mesquite, right outside of Dallas, called Town East Mall, right, or whatever. And so I think these small cities, some of them have been sitting on these spaces for so long, and that loss of tax revenue, that loss of everything, they are willing to help out and do just about anything to get an Amazon warehouse to increase those taxes, to get a co-working space, to get a high school to move in there, anything that would save/make them money. They are down for, and you know what? I like to see it. I'm glad to see it. I hate the fact that I see something, especially that big, go to waste, not being used when there's so much potential.
I love to see it. Let me tell you why I love to see it. Because when I see it, all I see, I'm like whatever that one of those cartoons where the dollar signs are rolling in my eyes, Because I see it and I go, dollar signs. It's just opportunity. I see opportunity. And so I just want to close out the story by saying this much. Like, hey, if you're out there and you have the exact, this company should do this or this, whatever should move in here, or we should split it up this way, start approaching those companies. Like, find a real estate agent, become a project manager, whatever. There is a way for you to profit off of having a good idea on how to reuse an old, soon-to-be empty mall. And what's interesting is I've walked into one of these malls recently as a goof. And I walked into the mall, by the way, during the holiday season where normally you'd park a million miles away, shoulder to shoulder with people. I walked in there and I walked around without a mask because I was within not 6 feet of people. I was within 100 feet of another person.
Yeah.
At all times.
Yeah, right? The last time I went, my wife and I went to Town East Mall when we were up in Dallas, which again is where I grew up, and it was that kind of mall because it was the nice mall. All 3 levels were circular, so it wasn't one of those malls where you got out of whack and you ended up on the other side of God's green earth, right, or whatever. They were all 3 circulars. It was great. It was built perfectly, and whether you went there in the middle on a Wednesday at noon, you had to park in the second parking lots. It was that kind of crazy. And the last time we went a couple of years ago when we were up in Dallas, every 3rd store was closed. You could park wherever you wanted. And this is one of those places that it was so popular. The mall was so popular at the time, of course being outside of Dallas, that everything built around it was commercial. Because you couldn't fit enough people in the mall. So everything around it was commercial development and more stores. They had a restaurant row there where everybody, what I mean? It developed even the area around it. Yeah. And of course, when Town East Mall has died, what do you think has happened to all of those commercial developments beside it? The same thing, right? So yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a great story. It's going to be a lot of fun to see the innovation and what people come up with to use these places.
And, you're right. It's going to be innovation. And here's the thing that they're already built, right?
Yep. They're done.
So they're already built. And they're built the way they are built. Like, condos are going to be rough, I think, because you're going to have to cut in windows and water and all this other stuff to make it livable space. That's going to be hard.
Every company had water. You know what I mean?
But the windows are going to be rough.
No, absolutely. I think that's a much more developer heavy, but it's still possible is the point.
Totally.
These are every place has electricity, every place has water, every place has a lot of the things that are expensive.
Absolutely, you're totally right. And that is, for me, an exercise I get into every month. I take 10 minutes or 20 minutes to sit down and go, I'm getting, getting my real estate license. I want to be the commercial real estate business. How do I solve, and I'm not a developer, but how do I solve this issue of we have these dead spaces? And I spend that time thinking about it because at some point in time, I will fall ass backwards into the right idea, right?
Right. And a lot of these malls were aesthetically pleasing. Fountains and, you know what I mean, these big things that made it nice for people that are very expensive to create, by the way.
That's right. And at this point, most of these malls, it's a burden to everybody involved. So if you solve a problem, where everyone who's involved, the city, the state, the whatever municipality, the investors, the developers, the management company, this is a burden.
Absolutely.
If you solve something that is so burdenous to so many people, you're going to solve it at a discount for anyone else who's going to get involved, and then you're going to make a ton of money.
Absolutely.
So that's why I spent so much time thinking about it. That's why Big Man sent me these stories and then sent me a text message and said, "Man, I'll tell you what, man, you only have 3 stories, not 4, tell you what. Cotton picking, tell you what."
I do not say, I pick cotton, but I don't say cotton picking. All right?
I know, that's true. I didn't mean to say that, and that might sound like I was disparaging him. I was not. I'm just trying to say something that sounds southern and folksy, something like he would say.